Movie 101 Review is created to empower movies itself. And today, another great episode with my legendary co host, Mr. Bob Leonard.
Legendary. Get out of town, Daniel. You're the world traveler. I'm just, stuck here in the middle of the United States. You go everywhere. You're all over the world. Come on.
In the middle of the United States.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what can you say in the middle in the United States, Mr. Bob? What can you say about your place?
It's really hot this week.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's last few days have been over 90 some degrees, like 92, 93 every day. So
Is it
I know
normal?
what about no, well, yeah, kind
Yeah.
of. I mean, usually we don't have that many in a row. So we've had like 3 or 4 days like that. But where you're at, I think it's much cooler. I think it's not as
Cooler,
hot.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we need it because we're having a wildfire.
Oh, still? Is it still going on?
It's already the distinguished. What is the
Oh,
why?
okay.
Yes, and thank God for the rain.
Well, I was
Extinguish,
where
I
was I
say,
at? I was up
extinguish.
north, further north, not that far north, and it was hazy because of the Canadian wildfires. Can you believe it? I was up in northern
Oh,
Illinois, kind of up towards Chicago, but not quite, and it was hazy because of the fires up there.
oh,
Isn't that
that's just
wild?
from yeah, that's wild. From Winnipeg, I think. Yes, that's a
Yeah,
big
there's
one.
bad news going on there.
That's a big
Yeah,
one. That's
but
climate
but you know
change.
what? Our movie tonight wouldn't help with any of that.
Okay, Mr. Baba, we're gonna talk about today.
Well,
Wow.
there's some. I'm going to say there's some controversy with the name of this uh, movie because if you look at what you got on the screen there, it says The Accountant 2, right?
Yes.
But if you look at other, um, posters and so forth where they have it going horizontally,
Yes.
it's The Accountant squared because the 2 is, superset. It's up high, right? So it's the accountant with a little 2 up high on the thing. And so that doesn't mean 2, that means squared. And so I'm sure there, because it's has some basis in math, that
Yes.
some people are going to notice that and they're going to go, why is it called the accountant squared?
Not two. Oh yeah, I found I found it. I think this is the one. Right? Is
uh
this the one?
no,
No.
no, it's got a little 2 up high. I can't
Oh, okay.
I don't know where, but it's in a different poster. Yeah. So I think they changed it though to be more like this. The early ones were the 2 was at the end after the T and it was really tiny and it was superset. So it was above the halfway point. So anyway, I mean, it's neither here nor there, but I thought it was funny because whenever I was joking, with people, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch that Accountant Squared. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
And maybe that's what everybody will do now. I don't know.
At least they learn from it.
At least the people who have any background in mathematics they'll laugh. The 5 people who have mathematics background will think it's funny. But
Sure.
this is the sequel to The Accountant, which had Ben Affleck and John Bernthal were both in that as well as brothers, I believe. So um, it, you know, it was the first Accountant was kind of a sleeper movie. Just to kind of go back to that one, that was 2016, which has been almost 10 years ago, believe it or not. And it had Anna Kendrick and J.K. Simmons as well as John Bernthal came in very late in the movie to be his brother. But I really liked the account. Did you ever get to see the first one,
The
Daniel?
first one, I think, yes.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good movie, and I had a lot of good big hopes for this one.
And?
And it wasn't as
Dun-dun-dun.
good as the first one, no, unfortunately.
As usual,
I know
yes.
you love spoilers,
Yes,
Daniel,
I
but,
love spoilers. Tell us, Mr. Babu, why you don't like Accountant 2?
so, well, it was an okay movie. The problem was the first one was kind of inventive, you had this, this guy played by Ben Affleck who had this talent, but he was also an assassin, but it wasn't like, you know, accounting is not necessarily an assassin talent that most people talk about, so that was kind of a different take on things, and I thought it was really good, and he did a good job of being kind of quirky and weird, and then you also got to be kind of on the inside a little bit, I mean, in the Hollywood way, about how you hide money, and how, if you're going to do illegal things, how you can keep your money looking legitimate even though it's not legitimate. And so I really found that aspect of it very fascinating, and I also think Ben Affleck did a pretty good job of playing kind of a quirky assassin type character, and so I was hoping there'll be more of that in Accountant 2, but there wasn't. So John Bernthal in the end of the first movie came in. Turns out he was his brother. It was kind of a twist for the first movie, and then now in the second movie they're together kind of the whole time, right?
Yes.
And it just doesn't work as well. I mean, I know they had to move on and so forth, but you know, they were trying to have this the brothers being so different, because essentially John Bernthal's character, who in the first movie was kind of the good guy, if you will, he was on the side of the establishment, and Ben Affleck was the bad guy in the being the assassin and so forth. But now they're kind of both bad guys, and John Bernthal is not. He's kind of plays kind of a kooky, crazy guy, more crazy than he was in the first one, I think. So it, I think they took some liberties there, and then they're trying to bond as brothers while they're going on these missions and all this kind of stuff. But what it really gets down to is there wasn't enough action. The first one had a good amount of action interspersed with the story of him being an accountant, finding where people are stealing money and whatnot. And this one, there wasn't a whole lot of that. It was just a whole lot of, we're brothers and we don't necessarily get along and we can't, see eye to eye, and we're trying to bond, but it's not working. And, and the quirkiness was part of, wasn't, wasn't, an integral part of the story. It was kind of slapped on to show, how different the two of them were, but not in any kind of way that helped move the story forward. So, it was okay, but I think it was really a downer because the first one was
Better.
had a much more interesting storyline to it. This one, they're gonna save kids and do all this stuff. They're both kind of good guy bad guys in a way. Does that make sense? It doesn't make
Yes.
sense, right? That's the problem, right? So they're
Yes.
they're assassins, but they're got the heart of gold, and they're going to save these children, and so it's confused, is what it is. It's very confusing. You know, it, you
That's why they
yeah. I
have
mean, you think about it.
77%.
The other problem is since the accountant came out, we've had John Wick, and
Yes.
so John Wick, reset all of the action movies. When John Wick came out, it was so different and so
Awesome.
yeah, awesome, exactly. It was such a great action movie that it really reset action movies. So you had your 80s action movies with Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger that were kind of a little bit goofy and a lot of one liners and then a lot of explosions and everything and so
Yes.
forth. And then, that took off and went in the direction. So anyway, we had gotten to the point where, we did have good action movies, but when John Wick came out, it was like nobody had seen stuff like that in a movie before. It was such close, unflinching camera work where you're seeing the people actually fighting, like rather than a bunch of quick cuts and cutaways and so forth. The scenes would go on, and these people were actually throwing each other around, and so
Yes.
the accountant too, unfortunately, you know, doesn't cop to that style, and so it's left behind because it needs to be where we are, right? So
Yes.
there's a lot of point of view in action movies, and people really looks like they're really doing things and so forth, as opposed to quick cuts and showing the stars shooting guns and the bad guys falling down, which is kind of old school at this point. And so yeah, it just didn't keep up with the times. I think maybe my guess, having watched it, is the accountant kind of became a little bit of a sleeper hit, and they wrote the accountant 2 back in probably like 2017, 2018, and then they just never updated it whenever they finally got these two guys, Affleck and Bernthal, together, because they've both been very busy actors, making movies. And
Yes.
so they've got all kinds of different things that they've done since the original movie. And my guess is that the script was written back then and they just never updated it to catch up with where action movies are today. So you know it was very rote. uh we had to save this one kid, and then they find him a home in Ben Affleck's secret lair where he has children as hackers, and this woman who's I believe his sister, who is mute but then talks through the computer and all this kind of stuff. So um it was you could see it coming a mile away. There was not a whole lot of twists and turns, other than the plot, the writers putting these plot devices in to twist it rather than being a logical progression. It was a little illogical when it all came down to it. So and then they had a couple of other characters in there that just were kind of throwaway characters, to be honest with you. So Ben Affleck plays Christian Wolf. John Bernthal plays his brother Braxton. I'm assuming his last name's Wolf as well, although we don't know that. There was Mary Beth Medina, Cynthia Adai Robinson plays Meredith, but it was kind of throwaway character. And J. Keith Simmons comes back as Ray King, who was, like in this one he was a private investigator type person, and he was in the other movie as well. And then there's Justine, which is the super hacker woman who lives in a institution basically, but it's a private institution, so it's really nice. And then she has all these hacker kids that are helping Christian, do all this stuff and make things happen, which is interesting. But they could have, they could have spent more time with those kids. They were hacking into unhackable systems and turning things on and off, and they could have given a little bit more time to them and how they learned all this. But you know and then there was just the usual assortment of bad guys, who you can always tell the bad guys because they always typically pick on a I think most of these folks were of like Latino type people, and so they always pick somebody to be the bad guys. Like they'll pick people from the Middle East, or they'll pick whoever. In Indiana Jones, they picked folks from India to be the bad guys in one movie. Nazis were bad guys, and so it's just kind of typical fare as far as that goes. Is it worth a watch? Sure. Is it worth the time that it takes to watch it? Probably not.
Why not?
I mean, we don't have like a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing, but I mean, if you got nothing better to do, it's something to watch. Can we
Yes.
say that? Is that
Yes,
okay?
definitely. Yes, that's okay. Why not? How about Mr. Bott? How about the cinematography from the first
Oh, I
and
mean,
this two?
the problem with movies at this point in time is they all look great.
Yes.
I mean, the technology has come so far over the last, 15 years, I would say. Back in 20, like prior to 2010, you'd still get movies that look kind of bad. But nowadays, I mean, even the worst movie that you see has great visuals, and the
True.
sound is good, and the picture is good, and all of that. And really, where things lack are with, like, settings or costumes, and then there's so much that's faked now. So we don't know if they were on a green
Real.
screen or a blue screen. You know what I mean? They
Yes.
fake they fake people in. If you
Mars.
watch any of the yeah, if you watch if you go peruse and look to see, there's like these sites that show how movies get made, and if you watch those, there's literally sitcoms where they green screen in most of the stuff, and it's amazing how well it looks and how well you're fooled by it. And so with a big budget movie, there's no telling what they did to make it happen. You know what I mean? So uh, sometimes the two stars aren't even on the stage at the same time, and they act against each other. And so you just never know until you see the behind the scenes stuff. The I think this one was not. I mean, there wasn't a huge amount of special effects in this, but we don't know. I mean, it could have been more. It's but that's kind of movies nowadays. They just all look spectacular, and
Grandeur.
yeah, and they sound pretty darn good for the most part. It's really rare anymore to get um, a bad looking movie, even if it's cheaply produced. Which this one I don't think was cheaply produced, but obviously it was. Well, I can look here. Let me look at the. I'm on IMDb here. Let's see if I can find. Let me see if I can find the budget and everything. So it was released back in April. I watched it on Amazon, which most people are probably going to watch. I don't think it did great box office. It says the budget was $80 million, a lot of money.
80
Opening weekend was
million.
24 million. In
Oh.
the U.S., it only grossed 65 million, so it did not make its money back for the U.S. and
Mm.
Canada, you and I. But worldwide, and that's where the money is, it was $102 million. So they made some money on it. Um,
Not bad.
Not bad, but typically what happens is they want to make their money back between the US and Canada, and then everything else is gravy, right? Is profit. So they didn't quite do that. So you know what? I don't think we're going to see an Accountant 3.
Not like
Maybe
John Wick.
not. Or unless Ben Affleck is hurting and something else comes along here. Um but runtime was 2 hours and 12 minutes, which is way too long. They could have cut,
Two
45 minutes
hours.
out of this thing. Yeah. Make it an hour and a half, make it a tight action movie, and it would have been much, much better. They had all these weird little storylines going on, and they could have cut it. They could have literally almost cut uh, the government lady, Mary Beth Medina. They could have just cut her out of most of this, to be honest with you. So,
Why? He's
well,
not
because I mean,
substantial.
she was basically all she was doing was driving parts of the plot. That's the only reason she was there. Her character didn't have a big arc or anything like that. You know what I mean? It really
Yes.
was. They really wanted it to be about the two brothers, and they should have just stuck with that. You know, they ruined it by bringing other things in, but I think they did that to pad things out and to drive the plot of the movie. And so it's kind of Frankenstein. Let's see how many writers. It just says they have one writer credited. His name was Bill Dubuque.
Who is that Bill
So,
Dubuque?
but I could see this. Maybe there was uncredited writers, that kind of, fleshed all this out. I don't know, but it was, on here on IMDb they got 6.7 out of 10 as a rating, which I probably wouldn't have given it just a 6, maybe. You know,
I think Rotten Tomato gets 77%.
do they really
Yes,
77? I
77.
don't agree with that.
What's supposed to be?
I mean,
50.
if you figure 60% is probably where it should be at on
Oh,
Rotten Tomatoes, don't you think? I mean,
I
the
want to watch it.
oh, you haven't. That's right, you haven't seen it. So, well, they have good actors. I mean, Affleck's a good actor. John Bernthal is usually really good. If you ever seen him in the Punisher series for Marvel, he's great. You know, and he's been in other stuff, and he's really, quite a good. He plays a good tough guy, right? And this is the role, right? This is his kind of thing. He's playing a tough guy. So, J.K. Simmons is always good in everything he does. Although he wasn't used enough in this, he was just at the beginning to kind of set things up, which was fine, But unfortunately, they replaced, him. That could have set the plot up. J.K. Simmons gets killed. It sets everything in motion, right? They
Yeah.
don't need to bring on all these other people, to push the plot along or anything. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm being
Only Mr.
tough.
Bob. Very tough. Your
Yeah,
expectation is too much. What it said.
maybe. Well, because the first one I liked because it was so different. But then, like I said, when did John Wick come out? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I think
I think
2000 or something.
2014. Oh, so it was
20.
actually before The Accountant. Oh, I thought it
Mm,
was The Accountant was 2016. Okay. Here, I
mm.
thought John Wick was newer than that. So I have to take back everything I said about John Wick all of a sudden.
Just like the movie The Mummy, right? Part one is the best, and the part two
Right.
sucks. Just
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah, it was yeah, exactly. And I think they could have done better, I guess is what I'm getting down to is that they had an opportunity to make it better. I think in The Accountant you don't get the brother until the very end when kind of the penultimate, part of the movie, and it really focuses on Ben Affleck's character, and Anna Kendrick is involved there to help move parts of the plot along, but she actually had she was a bit of an actual developed character as opposed to just kind of somebody that was just sitting there throwing out lines. So, yeah, I don't know.
But Mr. Bob, is the tone of the sequel darker, lighter, or consistent with an original
Uh,
film?
so I think they tried to make it lighter because they joked around a bit,
Oh
but
wow.
the humor was not. I mean, it wasn't really funny. I mean, it was kind of funny, but like I said, it just like the first one kind of knew what it wanted to do and did it, and the second one I don't think knew what it wanted to do. Is like, okay, we want to be a buddy movie because we got these two brothers. Oh, we want to have them fighting. Oh, we want them to be funny, you know, and they're trying to do everything, and it just didn't work. I mean,
The
it's not.
chemistry is
Well,
not
I
there.
think the chemistry was good. It's just that the script they had to work with was not good enough. They needed to take more time with the script so then they could, really get to the point of everything. It kind of meandered, and it just, I don't know. It wasn't memorable, and it didn't. The pace was not that great, and it was like, and then they didn't have enough action. There wasn't action, good action all the way through. There was a couple of points, and then at the end, obviously, there's a lot of action, and you know, the bad guys were going to bury children in the dirt and all this
Oh
kind of
my
stuff.
god.
And yeah, I know, but that's. I mean, that's typical, kind of Hollywood stuff, and it was just not good in the end. They needed to do better, right? They had the opportunity.
Better.
They had almost 10 years to do better, and they didn't take them. They didn't use them.
10 years.
Yeah, it
Oh
was
my
2016
goodness.
for the original, 2025 for this sequel. So Yeah, 9 years between them, so they had time to hone that script and make it better. But
But sad
nope,
to say, no. So,
no, we didn't do that. We paid
how
Ben
much?
Affleck and John Bernthal a bunch of money.
Is it exclusively from Amazon or
No, well, it was at the movies. I don't remember the who made it. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
oh, because
Uh,
Amazon is advertising. I thought it's produced by
oh, it
Amazon.
it was Amazon MGM Studios. So not too long ago. It hasn't been a huge amount of time. Amazon bought MGM. I don't know if you
Oh
remember all the
wow.
big hoo ha about Amazon buying
MGM.
James Bond,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh
So
yes.
Amazon acquired MGM Studios. Let me see if I can find when they did that.
So they making James Bond different way what Amazon want to do.
Well, they're going to have series. They're going to do like they did with Star Wars series. So Amazon officially acquired MGM Studios on March 17th of 2022 for $8.45 billion.
Wow.
So yeah, so they did produce this movie. So that is correct, and that's it. See, that's an interesting thing. I'm glad you asked that question because Amazon doesn't have to go by the old rule of making their budget at the box office with the U.S. and Canada. That's the old way of doing things, right? Since
Yes.
Amazon has Prime and Prime Video, and if you don't have Prime, then you can rent it and everything. They'll make their money back in that. So maybe there will be a Accountant 3 because they don't really, as long as it makes its
They
money
don't
back,
care.
I don't think they really care because what they have to do is keep you buying, widgets on Amazon and get them delivered to your door. If this movie makes money or not, all that does is brings people to Amazon. So that's interesting. Yeah. Hmm.
Definitely. The only thing I hate on Amazon, they cancel the Wheel of Time. It's not yet finished. I don't know if you're watching the Wheel of Time.
I
I
did watch. I
love
watched
that
the
one.
first season of Wheel of Time. Yeah, I have to watch the
My
second season
God.
still. I haven't jumped onto that yet.
I think season three is the best for me.
Yeah.
One of
Oh,
the best.
3 seasons? I missed 2 seasons already.
Yes, the third
All right.
season.
Well,
Oh
I'll have to
my
watch
God.
those.
And they canceled it.
Well,
Just
they had to put all this money into the Lord of the Rings stuff. So
Lord of the Rings for sure. For
yeah,
sure.
but
I
that's
hope I
yeah,
hope all
that's
the
streaming
petition.
though.
I hope all the
Yeah.
petition will say, okay, let's continue the Wheel of Time.
Did you
My
sign the
goodness.
petition for that?
Oh yes, I will now.
Oh,
I will.
good. Okay.
I will now
Okay.
because I'm one of the avid, wow, avid fan of Wheel of
Yeah.
Time.
I remember I watched the first season when it first came on, and then I guess the problem has been that I don't remember when the second season came on. I mean, maybe they didn't promote it as much or something.
Yes, yes.
And so then I kind of missed it, and then now I'm like playing catch up. So you know what happens? Everything moves forward. You can't go back hardly. It's hard to do that. So
True.
I have to
So,
wait
Miss.
for a lull in everything, and then I'll go back to it.
Oh yes, you need to watch the third season.
Okay.
So, Mr. Bob, would the accountant to be enjoyable, understandable to the viewers who have not seen yet first the movie?
I think you will. It's certainly a well-made movie that's just not as interesting as its predecessor.
Mm,
So you probably enjoy watching it. I'm a tough critic, right? So
yes.
most people probably would enjoy it, and then they'll be like, "Bob's off his gourd. He didn't know what he's talking about."
Gord or the George. I think I'm a good comedian, right, Mr. Bob?
Yeah,
Tune in
exactly.
next week, people. We're gonna do our Comedy 101 and let's scrutinize my being a comedic thing to do.
There you go.
So, Mr. Bob, please do recommend accountant to our listeners.
If you got nothing better to do, you can always watch Accountant 2.
Yes, people. And thank you so much, Mr. Bob, for that. And see you next week.
Yeah, we'll have another one.
Of course.
I don't know what it'll
People,
be yet, Daniel, but we'll have another movie to talk about.
yes. Interesting movie. So, Mr. Bob, thank you so much for your time. More to come, people. See you soon.